today, who directed After Mountains, that'll be showing at the Coconut Grove Film Festival. Julie, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm great, Katelyn. I'm super happy to be part of the festival, super grateful and super excited for this interview.
Awesome. And we are so excited to be speaking with you today and to be showing your film. I thought your film was so touching, allowing the audience to potentially relive a major loss from their childhood. And I know that in your director's statement, you mentioned that you have some personal ties to the story. So I first wanted to ask, how did this story come about?
That's a great question. So I experienced the loss of my grandpa when I was about 14, and that was a huge deal for me because it was the first time that someone close to me passed away, and I couldn't quite deal, with the emotion of how to react to that. I felt like I was overwhelmed with emotions, but also I couldn't feel anything. So I started wondering, am I doing this right internally? Like, am I normal? Do I feel things normally? So that's how I started like thinking of the story, of this little girl that she's wondering how to feel about, about loss and about sickness, something that, belongs to the adult world, but kids get thrown into it. So that's what I wanted to, get touch on.
That's awesome. And you had also mentioned that you also tied in a story from your friend who had
hmm
met someone in the hospital. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So one of my best friends, she, when we were in, I was in middle school, she mentioned that she met this, kid in the hospital. I don't remember really the circumstances of that. And she told me only once because I think it was something very hard that she lived. So I wanted to, you know, tie that with the story about my grandpa because I feel like, this relationship that she had with this other kid became like a super strong friendship over a very short period of time because, I feel like under these circumstances, links get tied very quickly. And so in the story of Ellie, when she meets Noah, it's kind of like, you know, Noah helps her going through what she goes through with her family, and he's kind of like her emotional, support in that moment.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful that you were able to tie part of your own experiences in with your friend and what was important to you both. And I think you did a very nice job in that. What was it like trying to revisit that child's perspective as an adult? I know we're trying to look through the eyes of
hmm
Ellie and see what it's like to lose a grandparent for the first time and feel that first couple like feelings of loss.
hmm
But now working on this project after growing up a bit, did you have to take input from the younger actors? Did you find it difficult at all?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think I remembered, my feelings pretty well from when I was a kid, but then, when I started casting, um, I, was talking about the character with the little girl that plays Ellie. Her name is Nora, and like asking her what she felt, and we worked a lot on the dialogues together, just because I wanted the dialogues to felt right for her. Like I'm writing
Mhm.
it as an adult now, but that's not how the kids probably spoke. So she helped a lot with that, with the dialogue writing, and she identified a lot with the character. Because in the casting process, I was trying to find an actress that's fitted the character in a way that was special, and she really embodied that. So it was really easy to work with her because she really understood these emotions. So yeah, just the dialogues, I would say,
Yeah,
most importantly.
absolutely. That's great that you were able to work with the actress that played Ellie and then also
Mhm.
tie in some of your personal experiences. How about for the little boy that's in the hospital? I don't know if you've had a personal experience with that, but just kind of the feeling of being a kid in that scary situation. How were you able to write that character?
So I didn't have that experience per se, but I took a lot from my friend's experience because when she told me what happened with the kid that she met in the hospital, she told me about these little moments that they have, playing together, or like talk trying to talk about truth. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and that's kind of like this, like very very important conversations that they had, and they became super close. So with Kenna, who's also like such a smart kid, he he completely like embodied the character in a kind of like in a silly way, like in a cute way that worked really well. I don't know if I answered the question correctly.
No,
Um,
absolutely. So that was nice. You were able to kind of draw from that experience of your friend and
yeah,
see what was
yeah,
going on there. Um, and again, I know so many personal ties to this with your
mhm,
life and the actors having input and your friend. Did you find that working on a film about the death of a grandparent was healing for you and
mhm.
revisiting some of those childhood memories, or did it become just too overwhelming and more so than you anticipated at points?
I think it was more of a healing experience than overwhelming because, even working with the actor of the grandpa, we we both shared, I shared my experience with him. He shared his personal experience of like the loss of a parent, and then he went through sickness. So it was very, emotional to especially like talk with him as an older person going through, what it is to be old, what it is to experience sickness. And I think making this film made me like more happy and healed some feelings that I had because I was able to show it to my family, for example, to my grandma, and I think it was a collective experience that I was trying to make, and also with my friend that inspired the story. So it was more of like
Yeah,
a coming together film. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Did you show your friend the film yet that the hospital portion is based off of?
yeah, she saw it. She saw it.
How did she receive it? Did she like it, or did she find it was revisiting a lot of, sentimental memories?
I think she told me she really liked it. It was very emotional for her, but it was emotional in a way that's comforting, because
Hmm.
I think this story was very important for her, but it was also a very long time ago. So just to see kind of like the interpretation of that was comforting for her. Hmm.
Absolutely. Did you tackle difficult conversations such as the death of a loved one in some of your other projects that you've worked on?
Um, so that's my first directing project. So this is the first
Oh,
project that I
congrats. That
that I
was
write and
awesome.
thank you so much. That I write and direct. Um, but I've worked on projects. I've been the DP and editor of projects that tackle death and all that. But that's the first film that I wrote.
Absolutely. Are you looking forward to any future projects that may be handling similar topics and themes?
The next project that I'm working on is not tackling death per se, but is tackling a lot of like
Okay.
women questions. Um, do
Oh.
you want me to tell you a little more
Yeah,
about the
I'd
project?
love to hear about it.
So it's about this a women couple that they're trying to have a kids, and then one of them realizes that she doesn't want to be a mother, and so it's this whole question about in society right now, like what is it to be a woman that doesn't want to have a kid? Because I feel like it's still something that is not completely normalized. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
tackling this question into a couple where someone wants a kid, someone doesn't want it, and you know, how does it play out and how does the conflict resolve or not?
That is so interesting, and that's definitely a story that doesn't get told as often nowadays. What's been the shift like working from a film more based on a child's perspective to
Mhm.
now, more of an adult woman? What has been any like challenges, or have you found it easier?
Um, I think it's more difficult working on the following project that I'm working on just because I am
Okay.
asking myself these questions right now. So it's like it's a process that I'm doing for myself. It's not something that I've already processed, and thought about in the
Right.
long term. And so, I'm trying to, unfold all of these questionings that I have and all of this research into this new project. And I'm co-writing with a friend of mine. So it's a new experience that is very exciting, but it's not easy. It's not easy because I'm not sure of the answer. There is no right answer at the end of the day.
Right. No,
Hmm.
absolutely. And it's definitely different working on something for that you haven't yet experienced or are starting to experience versus something from your memories. For this last project for After Mountains that we were talking about, what was kind of the timeline for working on that project?
So we filmed in March 2023.
Okay.
So it was a little while ago. And we started pre-production, I would say like 3, 4 months before, because I had been writing this film for like about a year before we shot. And I brought on my producer pretty early on, Danny Orlando. And we started like pre-producing, I would say like 3, 4 months before the film got shot. And then we shot for 5 days. And then the post-production was the longest part because I was the editor on the film and I had a hard time like starting the editing process. I had to take some time, away from the film and then come back to
Mhm.
it. So I think the editing from my part was the longest, but then I had an amazing, post-production team. The sound, my sound team was amazing and they did a great job, faster than me editing. And then my composer as well. Um, we finished around, I would say, January, January 2024. We had like like
Okay.
a crew screening.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. And what was it like working on the project from start to finish, from writing to directing to editing? Can you talk a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I discovered that I love directing first up. It was very exciting for me to have this, experience because I've done a lot of post-production. I've done a lot of directing the photography. So that was something that I knew. But then, directing, going through the pre-production, which was very time-consuming, mind-consuming. You couldn't think about anything else during this time. I think what I learned the most is just that I love working with all the departments, you know, and but it's like directing is like you have to be everywhere. So it's very scary and I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I love working with, all the different departments to try to bring the sorry, for them to bring
It's
the
okay.
best out of me.
Absolutely. And do you feel a stronger like personal attachment to this film because you've worked on
Mhm.
everything? It's almost kind of like your child at this point. I mean, you've done all the pre-production, you did the production and now the
Mhm.
post-production and working on it for so many years. Does that like strengthen your personal connection to the
Mhm.
film?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen this film like about 200 times, so I know it by heart, but um I'm just so grateful for like all the work everybody has done on the film. And, I've built I would say like I've built a strong link to the film, but I've built an even stronger link to the people that I worked with. And,
Mhm.
I know that in the future, like, we're gonna keep working together and we're gonna keep like working on this relationship. And it's been just so exciting to, like see how, everybody grew through that film and experienced this. It was a very difficult shoot, I have to say, but we made it through, and I'm just like grateful that nobody like killed me after.
If you don't mind me asking, how was the
Yeah.
shoot difficult? What had
So
happened?
yeah, so I have some little anecdotes, but we had this, the hospital location was, I would say, the most challenging. We found this location which was a simulation hospital. And it was great. We had it super early on. So it was just like, for my production designer and myself, like easier because everything was already there. And then we lost the location a week before the shoots. So it was just a freaking out moment of, okay, we don't have a location now. What do we do? Started calling all the hospitals in all the clinics, everything in Miami and nothing. Like, yeah, it was too late. So um, my production designer and I you know, sat down and were like, okay, what do we do? And so she ended up building, a hospital out of nothing, out of the classroom, out of the school. So that was the most, I would say, like last minute challenging thing that we had to figure out. Um, and then, working with kids, you have to, work less hours, but then condense everything in less
Right.
time. So it was just very stressful. It was great, don't get me wrong, but it was, you know, a lot of different locations. So company move, and then the kids taking care of them, and then taking care of the crew so that everybody's happy. It was just a lot of management for me that I didn't anticipate.
Yeah. What did you learn kind of from that experience that you're hoping to take into your next project?
Hmm. Um, I think what I've learned is that, I cannot like tunnel focus myself on only the actors, which, I want to be doing. But when you're working on independent projects, you have to be also a producer. You have to think about, okay, why is lunch late? Or you have to think about, okay, is there enough food? It's just like, I kind of like put myself in this tunnel vision sometimes of me and the actor and my, maybe my director photography, but it's like you have to have a global vision of everything. And I think that's what the hardest part about directing. And so, yeah, next time I'll try to, manage that better. Definitely.
That's awesome. Well, I hope everything with your next project goes great. And I just want to touch one last question on
Mhm.
After Mountains. What are you hoping that the audience takes away from this film?
Hmm. Hmm. I think, I hope they're touched. I hope they feel, some type of emotion. Even if they maybe don't understand completely what it is, just the way, if it makes them feel something, that's a win, I think. Um, and just I think it's a film about, trying to understand how other people feel, how other people react to things, and what maybe could help someone through loss. And like this relationship between mom and daughter, like how to try to manage that maybe better. I know it's hard, but yeah, just trying to understand each other would be what I would like people to take out.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for your time today. It was such a pleasure speaking with you, and we are so honored to be playing your film at the festival this year.
Thank you so much. That was truly a pleasure for me too, and I'm super excited to come to the festival. Thank you for the whole team.
Of course.